Hello, welcome to Sheepdog Says. I'm Sheepdog, and I thought I'd do a quick one this week about Free Comic Book Day. It's coming up next week on Saturday, the 6th of May. I'm just going to double check on my laptop. 5th of May. And if you've not heard of it before, what it basically is all the all the connected comic book shops that generally sell, mainstream comics and have distribution lines to the right people will have got involved in Free Comic Book Day, which basically means they get sent tons and tons and tons of free comics. There's about 50 different titles that they get sent each year, or at least this year there's about 50. And the idea is that you can go in, it entices people in for the day. You can pick, depending on where you are, depends on how many you can pick. The one we normally go to, called Close Encounters in Peterborough, they normally let you have 5 each. And it's just a good day. You just go in, you pick some comics you maybe not seen before, or comics you are familiar with, but they've got a special for Free Comic Book Day. You have a look through what else they've got. Sometimes the one that I go to are just getting rid of old comics they just can't sell. There's always something random there that they might want to shift. Apparently, according to the site, there's going to be posters, key rings, tattoos, all sorts of memorabilia and stuff like that. My kids really enjoy it. I mean, I keep finding random comics around the house where we got them on the day, and then we've read through them, and they all just pile up over the years. But it's funny because for me, it's I only remember when it is because my daughter always gets an invitation to a kid's birthday party the same weekend that it's on. It's always the same Saturday that this guy's birthday party, it always is. I'm pretty sure he always gets a present from the comic book shop and a load of free comics to bolster his present because we happen to be in there 3 hours before his birthday. But no, it does look cool. There's always a DC comic. This year, apparently it's called DC Top Secret at the moment, so I'm guessing that means they've not announced what it actually is. I'm trying to look down the website and see what they've got. All there is at the moment is like a big question mark over it. I always get my daughter into this with the DC Superhero Girls comics. They usually have one of them there. It looks like this year's no different, although often they tend to be repeats, I find, for them. But if you've got a young daughter, DC Girl Superheroes, Superhero Girls, got that the wrong way around, is there. If you've got a really young daughter, there's also a Disney Princess Ariel Spotlight, where it's a comic about Ariel from The Little Mermaid. I'm quite pleased for my son that there is a Pokemon Sun and Moon comic they're going to have there. The Pokemon comics are quite good. They can be a bit brutal, or at least the older ones could be. I'm guessing this is more aimed at children. The black and white ones are pretty ruthless. There's a comic I remember seeing of an Arbuck cut clean in half, and apparently it survived, and this giant haunter ghost that had been eating people's souls for hundreds of years and had become a bigger and bigger and uglier beast. So they're quite good. They're more aimed at adults, and I guess for Japanese manga, they're well worth a read. I've not read all of them, but I read Red's story, funnily enough, Red versus Blue and that kind of thing. So that is well worth checking out. I mean, it's well worth going and seeing what this Pokemon one is like. For gamers, there's an Overwatch one that's going to be there. I'm not really sure of the story behind all that, but I'm guessing if there's a comic out for it, then getting into this free one would be a good place to start. Marvel are doing an Avengers Captain America comic. I found last year I've got the Marvel one each year because I want to get into Marvel comics. I mean, because obviously I love their films. But I find them too wordy. I don't know what it is. I find the Marvel comics are way wordier, and they always seem to start in the same format. Like the first couple of frames is some cheesy joke where the villain's being mocked by the hero, or it's kind of like how the films start. They always start with, like, I don't know, Thor hanging upside down, telling the baddie that he talks too much and stuff like that. And there's just so much wordiness to it that I get a bit bored or phase out. I've not been able to really get stuck into a Marvel comic and enjoy it. I tried reading Civil War and Civil War 2, and both of them were difficult. I found Infinity War and Infinity Gauntlet difficult. I've tried reading some of the X-Men ones. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just my preference of style. Like, maybe there's different writers at different times, and maybe I've just happened to have picked a couple that, whilst they're quite famous comics, they're not really my preferred style of writing, I guess. So I'm more looking forward to the DC one, I've got to be honest. I feel like from a comic point of view, I'm definitely DC over Marvel. I was looking down the list to see whether there was anything related to the likes of anything by Neil Gaiman, but it doesn't seem like there is. I was trying to see if there are any mention of Paper Girls, because last year Paper Girls was one of the ones that gave away for free. That is a really, really good series. It's well worth checking out. It's a bit mysterious and doesn't make much sense for a lot of the time, but it has started to make sense. It's all about like a war that's going on, and these random paper girls get involved. They're girls that deliver newspapers, not girls made of paper. Some of these titles are really misleading. I read one called Sex Criminals, and I have to explain to my wife that it's not about people who have committed crimes using... I can't even say that, that's not even accurate. It's not about perverts who are causing crimes with deviance. It's about people who can freeze time by having sex, and then at some points in the story they have committed crimes to help keep a library open by robbing a bank while time has frozen. These are the sorts of mad comics you can find if you go into a comic book store on Free Comic Book Day and have a look through. And they sound odd, but they are awesome. I was hoping there'd be something to do with Saga there, because I need to get back on that bandwagon. Saga is, as it sounds, a saga. It's a massive space opera type thing. It's really, really, really cool. I'm sure most people watching this have heard of that. And what was the other one I was trying to think of? Oh my God. Wicked and Divine. How did I forget the name of that? Wicked and Divine again it feels like it's heading towards its grand finale, and yeah, it's if you can see anything for that in there. I think the comic book shops tend to do is they tend to put the number one of any of those sorts of titles out, because they know if you read it, if you go in there, for example, another easier to connect with mentally, I guess, Walking Dead. If you walk in and you see a couple of the first sort of Walking Dead editions, and you pick them up, I don't know how rare Walking Dead might be, but if you pick them up and they're either £1 or they're free or whatever, and you read them and you want to read more, you're then looking at a mountain of between 50 and 200 comics to catch up on. So it's in their interest to give you an early doors one that makes you go, this is all right. There's quite a few that I've not heard of on the list, and I mean, that's not too easy, hard to happen. You know, there's plenty I've not heard of. There's some interesting ones that I have heard of because of my dad. So if Dad, if you're watching, you prick your ears up. There is a 2000 AD Regend, it's called, which I guess is a bit of a regeneration reboot of those. I mean, I didn't think 2000 AD had finished at all, but my dad used to collect them. I remember he has a pile of specific ones in his loft that, when I was looking them up online, they're all worth, a couple of them worth like 300 quid plus, and you know, he collected them when he was younger. Tank Girl has a brief history of Tank Girl coming out, which again, she's quite an iconic name from like older comics. You have to forgive me for looking down at my laptop because there's so many on here. There's always a Simpsons one and a Bob's Burger one every year, and there's always Adventure Time as well. So I'm kind of, what tends to happen, the first year we went, there was only a couple of kids ones, so what I got away with doing was they said have 5 each, and because there was 4 of us, we took 20 comics, but my kids only took maybe 4 between them, and I just totted up the rest. I got my wife to pick the ones I wanted her to take. This year, I don't think that's even possible, because it looks like there's going to be at least 5 that my daughter will want, and we may need to fight over the space. There's a SpongeBob one, there's The Tick as a comic, Street Fighter. Street Fighter seems like an odd one, but I suppose that's got quite a lot of story to it that isn't told. I mean, the list is huge. I'll try it. I don't know if YouTube lets me put links up on my channel at the moment, but I'll try and put a link up. If not, I'll put it in the comments. It's well worth having a look through. Generally speaking, all you need to do is find where your local shop is. You know, set a note in your diary to turn up if they're taking part. Everyone in the UK, where most of my viewers are, should have a comic book shop in their local town that will be taking part. In the US, I imagine you've probably got one in every corner. Like, it's a bit more busier out there. There are Doctor Who ones, Power Rangers, Transformers, Invader Zim. There's loads on here. I mean, I'm not going to list all 50 because I think I'd be here all day. I'd be interested in people telling me ones that they've seen or heard of. I mean, I think it was 2 years ago or maybe last year that Kev said to me, check out Paper Girls, it's good. And so I did. So if there's any like that now where I might not have heard of them yet, I've not mentioned them here, they're one of the ones to look out for. That's what what tends to happen, my routine tends to be, we go to it first thing in the morning, we end up taking my daughter to this party, then we get back and I get to sit and read the comics. And I specifically remember kicking off on Paper Girls after one of these parties and just thinking it was awesome, and then going and finding more online. So yeah, let me know if there's any that I really should be looking out for. Let me know which ones you're excited about. Yeah, if you've never been before, you should go. It's a great way to get into it. It's free. It only costs you the time and the petrol to get there. It'd be just a cool opportunity to see what the shop's like, and don't blame me if you end up spending a couple of £100. My only downside is that it's 20 days before Comic-Con in London, so I feel like I can't really go there and spend lots because I want to go to Comic-Con. But then I had to toss up between, do I spend lots in this shop, support them, it's probably cheaper, I can have them sooner, or do I wait 20 days? Because if I wait 20 days, then that's the reason I'm going to Comic-Con. So it is a toss-up. It's a difficult one. I'm quite excited. May's here now, and that's the big thing hanging at the end of the month for me. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up here. Sorry for the croakiness of my voice. I was at a football match yesterday. If you haven't seen yesterday's video yet with Kev and Smoothman and the gang, we are at Nuneaton cheering them on. I've got no voice. I'm so tired today. I've been snoozing on the sofa all day long. I'm exhausted. I just realised I haven't had any caffeine, and it's nearly bedtime, so my choices now are fall asleep or get caffeine in me and stay up later. I might have the caffeine. I think I need it. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. It's important that you subscribe. I'm at 201 followers. I'm supposed to be aiming for 1,000. Come on, help me get there. Thanks for watching. As I say, leave me some comments, leave me some recommendations. If they're not on the list but you want to recommend me a comic, do it, because I always want to look at new ones. My personal sort of favourites, I really enjoyed the Sandman series. I love reading the DC ones mainly. I love reading Green Lantern, Superman. I'm not that Batman's cool, but I'm not that into it. Teen Titans is suddenly really interesting. Because I've got a son, I really love reading the Super Sons story with Jonathan Kent and Damian Wayne. That's been really fun. I'm trying to think what else I particularly like now. There's loads. I mean, I said Saga, Paper Girls, Wicked and Divine, Sex Criminals, all those things. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks again, and I'll catch up with you tomorrow.